Now, I don't know what you're up to this weekend. If you, like me, quite fancy just a bit of a lazy weekend, well, we're just about to speak to one lady who is having the absolute opposite of that. Natalie Bradburn from Woodley is walking tomorrow from Royal Berkshire Hospital, actually today, to St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. She's walking to mark the 10th birthday of her daughter Grace, who passed away 9 years ago after suffering from an extreme reaction to chickenpox. Earlier this week, she came into the studio and she told Howard Hughes a little bit of Grace's story.
Well, she caught chickenpox like normal and was perfectly fine for a couple of days, and then she started to get really, really poorly. And we took her to the doctor a couple of times with given the impression that it was going to turn around and start to get better, but then she really didn't and became much more lethargic. So we ended up in the Royal Berks for a week, and she got progressively more sick there, and the chickenpox didn't really stop. She kept getting new chickenpox lesions over the week, and by the end of that week she was really very poorly, too poorly and exhausted to carry on really, so they decided the time had come to sedate her and take her to intensive care. With the chickenpox, we just didn't expect this to happen, and even in the Royal Berks there was always the belief that she would turn a corner and get better.
And that didn't happen. She didn't get better.
Yeah, it was really, really quite tough, but we had great support throughout that time. So they decided that she needed to go to intensive care, but there isn't an intensive care unit here in Reading. The nearest one, I think, is the John Radcliffe, but all of the London hospitals come under that group of hospitals, which would be the first place you go to when your child needs intensive care. And we were very, very lucky to go to St Mary's because they are specialists in immunology. And that just happened to be where there was a bed available for her. So we then went to the adult intensive care at the Royal Berks, where they prepared her. The CATS ambulance arrived, so that's the Children's Acute Transport Service ambulance, which was set up by St Mary's along with two other hospitals in London. And they came, it's a special intensive care unit ambulance with intensive care doctors and nurses, and they took us to London, where we arrived, and then kind of everything was in a bit of a whirlwind while they tried to sort her out.
And what were the medical professionals telling you at that point? What sort of messages were you getting?
Well, they immediately said to us that there's something wrong with her immune system, and I remember they said that specifically. There's something wrong with her immune system. If there wasn't, you wouldn't be here. And she was sorted out in the ward, but very quickly they moved her to an isolation room because they realised that she was infectious, and they have obviously other children in the unit who are vulnerable. She was really poorly, so she was sedated and ventilated. She was in St Mary's for 3.5 weeks. We moved on the 31st of March, and she died on the 24th of April. So for all of that time, they were battling so hard to help her. It was quite obviously very hard, but certain things take your focus. So initially, somebody thought it might be a good idea to, instead of have flowers for the funeral, we would ask people to donate to Cosmic. And so that's Cosmic, which stands for Children of St Mary's Intensive Care. And that's a charity that supported us while we were there. So then the focus became watching the donations of sympathy come in from everybody in memory of Grace, and that's where all the fundraising started, really.
The latest one is the Long Walk. Talk to me about the Long Walk.
We are starting at 5 a.m. and we will be walking until about 9:15. We are going to take a route that emulates the final journey that Grace did in that CATS ambulance. Well, she went on the motorway. We can't.
No.
We're going on the back roads.
You're going the same sort of distance.
Yeah,
now,
we're just...
How many, is that, 30 miles of walking, is that so?
50 miles.
It's what?
50 miles. There are 14 of us doing the whole walk. I have so many fabulous friends who've agreed to join me on this. And then there are another 27 people doing parts of the walk.
It's a remarkable effort. And do you have a target amount of money that you want to raise?
We
from this?
initially had a target of 10,000. We're now at 18,500.
Well, you've almost doubled your money, and by the time people hear this, you will have doubled your money. How do people contribute? Do they give you money in a bucket on the way? Have they pledged via a website? How does this all work?
It's virginmoneygiving.com/team/50 miles for more smiles. Lovely to think that all these people are here to remember Grace, and that the day has come. We're finally doing this.
Money raised from Natalie's 50-mile-long walk will help create more much-needed beds for critically ill children.
And Natalie is on the line now. She's in Maidenhead. Tell us how it's going.
Oh, it's going amazingly well. We are about 15 minutes behind time, but I've had so much support. There's been a massive bunch of us this morning walking. A few people have stopped now, that was their plan. And so we are just walking through Maidenhead, and sorry if it's a bit noisy with the cars.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. And tell me, how can people spot you? What are you wearing, Natalie?
We're all wearing bright yellow high-vis. We've had lots of cars beeping at us, actually, as they've been going past, so that's been absolutely super. Got a great support crew. Just following us, bringing us food and water. And we're all wearing bright yellow high-vis, so we're easy to see.
So 52 miles to do. What number mile are you on at the moment?
Well, we are on about 28k.
Okay.
Can't convert that currently.
So that would be, what, about 20 miles-ish, roughly, maybe slightly
something
less.
like that, yeah. We've done, it's 80k in all, so we've done over a quarter now.
And how are you feeling?
Yeah, surprisingly good. Yes.
Did you sleep well last night?
I'm not too bad. I meant to go to bed very early and only managed to go to bed a little bit early. But I did get some sleep, and we all managed to have our alarms go off and taxis arrive as they should have done, and everybody got to the hospital at the Royal Bark well this morning. It was still dark, but we set off on time. It was great.
Well, good luck for the rest of the walk. We will keep up with your progress here at BBC Radio Berkshire. The big
Thank you.
important thing, though, just give us the way we can donate again if there are people listening who just think, yep, I want to do that right now.
Yes, it's virginmoneygiving.com/team/50 miles for more smiles.
Amazing. Natalie, well done. Good
Thank
luck
you.
for the rest of the journey. What snacks have you got, by the way?
Malt loaf, raisins, chocolate, sweets, all the things you can't normally eat. We're allowed to eat those today. So.
But all the things you
Great.
can eat when you're walking over 50 miles. Good
Yeah.
luck. And if you see her, cheer her on. That's Natalie Bradburn there, who started at the Royal Berks yesterday and is making her way to St Mary's. An amazing story. Such courage.
Arriving at Windsor Castle feels really significant, a huge milestone for everyone. After so much training, we're all delighted that we've got so far, and we really feel like we're on our way now, unaware though of what's to come. So many people have turned up unexpectedly and really taken me by surprise, from my choir serenading us on a roundabout in Woodley, to old friends and my cousin joining us along the way. I feel amazing and so lucky to have such great people in my life.
Oh, thank you, children.
The train now approaching platform 1 is the 1403 Southwest train service to...
After 40 kilometres, everyone is still doing really well. So far, we've had a fabulous 10-hour-long party with lots of socialising, some music, a great deal of fun and tons of laughter. Everyone has been very supportive of each other. We've taken photos, admired the sights and propped each other up. And Steve has been tweeting our progress. For me, it's felt pretty fantastic. But now, Ash is looking very serious. In fact, this is the start of a lull in spirits as everyone begins to tire. As we walk alongside the M4, a couple of things become apparent. Some people have been getting blisters and they are now exploding, causing pain and damp feet. And there is also the realisation that this was quite a ridiculous idea. It occurs to me how amazing my friends and family are to support me in this crazy venture, and I feel a degree of guilt at what I'm putting them through. My mum and dad have now joined us. This was planned so that they'll be with us as we go past my nan's old house in Hayes. William is feeling so good that he dances along. He continues to look like he's just begun, despite walking from the start. He's an amazing young man. As the walk progresses, everyone starts to take some time to themselves. The chatter quietens and people begin to walk alone, collecting their thoughts and drawing upon inner strength, knowing that there are plenty more miles still to go. Before this walk, I didn't know Claire D, Linda, Leslie, Matt, Claire R or Ken. For the entire day, I'm buoyed up by seeing everyone around me, feeling the love and knowing the commitment that everyone has made. Inside this car are Graham and Miles, who are supporting Cheryl. Cheryl has suffered with debilitating back pain in the lead up to this walk, but determined to participate, she's being supported by her son Jack, who's cycling alongside her for a full marathon. Cheered on by our latest support crew of Juliet and Emma, we've now reached 50k. While they're certainly fresh and chipper, the team of walkers are not. The physical strain is taking its toll. But the support of these crews throughout has been pivotal in keeping us going. The enthusiasm and encouragement from Karen and Si, Fran and Ben, John and Jess, and now Juliet and Emma has been essential to our success so far. We're now approaching my nan's house, somewhere that Grace visited and a place full of memories of my own childhood. At this point, struggling with her back pain and falling behind somewhat, Cheryl has got lost, but fortunately Juliet is able to locate us on the map. Throughout the day, I've been ceremoniously throwing away the pages of my own map, feeling great satisfaction at discarding each completed section.
See you later. Bye.
Everyone is facing their own individual challenges today. Sarah has walked with her knees strapped up, which is causing her to employ a somewhat crab-like sideways motion. She's registered to run the London Marathon in 4 weeks' time, so any damage she does to her knee will potentially scupper her plans. We've been spotted by a local resident up in his window, just as we take a break to eat bananas. As we reach the next rest stop, it's time to eat, pee, rest and change shoes. Here we are handed cash by some generous punters. We are now at 57 kilometres. Patience is short and everyone is weary. As we leave, Ken asks me for the distance completed and is demoralised to learn that we are at 57k, not 60 as he thought. Despite the smiles here, those 3 vital kilometres are enough to pull us all down. Much ahead of his planned joining place, Stu appears dressed as Where's Wally. But we're not amused. In fact, at this point, I can barely acknowledge him. I feel the compulsion to just keep trudging forwards, so I cannot even stop to greet him. He just falls into line, confused by the lack of reception that he's received. It's now so wet and windy that Stu's Where's Wally mask is blown from his face and lands in a puddle. Our cameraman, Matt, who was meant to return to base in a car and has done no training for this, has remained with us, using his folding bike and capturing footage that we would otherwise be missing. We are all now soaked through and freezing. It's really unpleasant. And we know that we still have hours to go and we'll have to do those miles while being all damp and cold. Our shoes are letting in water and our feet are wet. Matt's struggling to work his camera. Paediatric consultant Simon Nadal joins us for a short section of the walk. He and his team will use the funds that we're raising to double the size of St Mary's Paediatric Intensive Care Unit from 8 to 15 beds. Julia started limping, troubled by her hip, leg, feet, well, by 70 kilometres of walking. We say goodbye to Simon at West Acton Tube Station, and he'll see us again when we reach the hospital, which is at least another 2 hours away. Have a look at these amazing kids. Here are Will and Jack, but also walking big distances were Bethan, Jack B, Elizabeth and my own Ollie. Phenomenal kids who are doing something so selfless, requiring such hard work to help families like mine who find themselves in the worst imaginable situation. Suddenly we all realise that Shelley and Ian are never more than 5 minutes away from us and that we can leave our bags in their car. I didn't realise how heavy my bag was until I took it off. What a relief. See how we've abandoned all road sense. We are one tired team. We're all just shattered now and becoming quite emotional. Because I've driven the route during the planning, I'm able to pace myself. I know where we are and how much is left. But no one else has that luxury. My friends are, essentially, lost somewhere in London, and they're exhausted and they can't see a light at the end of this 50-mile long tunnel. During this rest stop, Matt gets accosted by a jolly drunk who's wanting to get change from behind the bar so that he can give us a donation. And as we leave, no one notices that we've left our cameraman behind. Fortunately, Claire P is on the case. She collects him and takes him to St Mary's. Luckily, Ash is still with us to keep filming with the GoPro. When we started at 5 a.m, we expected a challenge, but we had no idea really how difficult this walk would be. The day has been both brilliant and really quite awful. I've had a huge responsibility to ensure that everyone is kept safe, and I've been very aware of this all day long. Now that we're near the end, the group has become strung out. There's about a mile between the front and the back of the pack, and Laura and Claire D have both nearly fainted. For the last 5 kilometres, Laura, Al and I physically pull each other along. Husbands arrive to literally drag Lisa and Julia to the finish. And finally, at 11:20 p.m, after 18 hours and 20 minutes, we make it. The walk has taken us 2 hours longer than I planned, and in finally reaching St Mary's, I feel pretty exhausted and immensely relieved. But as well as that, I feel hugely proud of all my friends and family, and I'm overwhelmed to feel so supported by the love that everyone has shown in taking on this challenge with grace in their hearts for St Mary's PICU.
90,000. Someone's just put on exactly the right amount.
And, clearly on behalf of Grace, it's just an incredible feat that you've done.